So I'm Dominic Bramley, and I'm a technical consultant in our Internet of Things team in the UK and Ireland. And I've been working in Internet of Things technologies for about 12, 13 years across its various guises. It used to be called SCADA, then M2M, sensors and actuators, RFID. So it's been around a while, this technology. It's not new, but it's got a sexy new name now called Internet of Things. So this is good because I'm now hip and trendy. But what's been particularly nice over the last sort of couple of years is seeing something that I've been working in for some time just exponentially take off. And it really has taken off in a big way in the last couple of years. And that's been backed up by IBM, who've now invested, as Claire mentioned, $3 billion in a new business unit centered around Internet of Things. I've got 1 billion, I think Claire got the other 2, so I have to speak to my agent, I think. But in creating that business unit, we pulled together all our technologies related to Internet of Things. But in addition to sort of the connectivity pieces, device management, data analysis, all the traditional things you would think about for sort of Internet of Things solutions, at the center of that business unit, we placed our enterprise asset management capability, and our building management capability, and our predictive management capability. And enterprise asset management was placed at the center of this business unit for one very simple reason, really. We see it as one of the key areas where we're going to extract business value from this new technology area. And various analysts agree with this. So 24.7 billion, according to ABI research, is the market opportunity in 2019 for predictive maintenance. And we've already touched on a few of the presentations earlier. Predictive maintenance really is a key opportunity to really make some business value out of this. And what's particularly poignant about it is it's out there now. This isn't the pie in the sky stuff. This is the opportunities that are ready to take with the technology that we have available to us right now. So it's really, really exciting times. So what is enterprise asset management? Well, simply put, it's the management of your physical assets in an organization to avoid the loss of revenue through the failure of that asset. And in doing so, you need to manage the complete life cycle of an asset, right from planning its procurement to the procurement itself, through to operation, maintenance, and finally disposal of that asset. And it encompasses all areas of the business to bring that together, including inventory, human resources, and that kind of thing. But people who are really good at enterprise asset management have a significant competitive advantage over organizations who are less mature. And that competitive advantage is realized by the reduction in the cost of your maintenance and repair operations, the reduction in the labor cost of maintaining those assets, reduction in unplanned downtime, an increase in asset utilization, which in turn is extending the life of those assets, which means you can then have less capital expenditure in replacing those assets. And the compound effect of all of that, once you've added all that together, you free up significant amounts of capital to invest in areas that are far more strategic within your business. So enterprise asset management is really a fundamental key area for any asset-intensive business. And this is a sort of a chart we use with a lot of organizations, and it's quite common. It's not an IBM thing. This is the asset maturity model. And it describes where organizations are on the journey towards sort of asset management excellence. So starting off with innocence, awareness, understanding, through to competence and excellence. And one of the key factors that you'll see is enterprises that are just starting out on the journey really see asset management as a way of reducing cost. And they try and reduce the cost of maintaining those assets and the cost of unplanned downtime. When companies get really good at enterprise asset management, then they start seeing the opportunities to create business value. It's not about reducing cost anymore. It's really a fundamental strategic part of the business. On the left-hand side, the maintenance team are a bunch of people in boiler suits sat in the basement, pretty much operating on their own. There's no real systems involved. They go out, they buy parts, they go to an asset when it's broken and they fix it. When they get to the other side of that, the maintenance teams are fundamentally involved in strategic decision making. They're at the top table and people consult with them when they're making strategic decisions. And we heard John talking about that in terms of the Tesco example. It's bringing in that maintenance data alongside just sensor data from the fridges. It's understanding what the maintenance history of those fridges, having the skill of those maintenance teams embedded into a system that enhanced the predictive capabilities of those assets. So in IBM, what we're trying to do is move people from the left-hand side of that curve to the right-hand side of the curve. And one way of looking at it is we're trying to get people from just-in-case maintenance to just-in-time maintenance. And kind of like the analogy, most people can conceptualize the just-in-time production concept, where you're manufacturing something and you need parts exactly at the right place at the right time. You don't want them there too early, you don't want shelves full of parts costing you money, and you certainly don't want it there too late and stop a production line. You want it just right there at exactly the right time. And just-in-time maintenance is about that as well. You want to maintain your asset at exactly the right time. You certainly don't want to maintain it too late when it's down and you're losing money. But then you don't want to maintain it too often either, because that, again, is just burning money. So how do we get from just-in-case to just-in-time maintenance? And a more simple way of looking at that is we want to take the journey from reactive maintenance, again, when it breaks, I go and fix it, through to preventative maintenance, where we're going to maintain it along its lifespan to stop it breaking. So at this point, I'm going to lose the impact of downtime by trying to keep that asset up all the time. But we're going to do that based on a sort of defined schedule, either from the manufacturer or my own observations. And that does have a significant improvement on your costs, especially when you start getting into advanced planning of that preventative maintenance. If you know you're going to maintain something, you can actually have the right parts ready for it. If something breaks and you have to react to it, you may not have the part in stock to fix it, so extra delay. And all of that can be done with an effective enterprise asset management system. So you don't really need the IoT bits for that. You can really build up a core piece of that just with standard enterprise asset management. But where things really get interesting is when we move to condition-based maintenance and onwards and upwards. And this is where we start bringing in that sensor data. So for condition-based maintenance, we now have a live feed and a live stream of asset information, or metadata. And we can then use that to monitor thresholds, create work, create preventative maintenance work, based on when an asset reaches a threshold. So now we're trying to avoid maintaining something too often. If one asset's being used 10 times more than the asset next to it, then we can focus our resources on maintaining the asset being used more often. And what's key to that really is having those thresholds set. But the problem is that you may be able to react to something that's about to fail in time. It may give you enough notice to do that, but you still may have that lead time to get the part. It gives you an advantage, but it's not the sort of the end-to-end solution. And that's where we get to the next step that we've been alluding to. Having that stream of data, being able to analyse it historically, comparing it to all the failure records and the maintenance records logged in your asset management system, and then being able to correlate that against all the similar assets in the estate and start predicting when something's going to fail. And in many cases, that can sort of increase the notice from condition-based maintenance that something might break in a day or two to you now might know it's going to break in a couple of weeks or even a month. So it really pushes out that visibility of what you have to do and when you have to do it, so you can start planning more effectively to fix those assets. So that really is almost a game changer. But then the one step beyond that is where we get into the cognitive and the machine learning part of that. So I guess the other way it was described earlier is descriptive, predictive, and prescriptive. And once you get to the cognitive part, with a predictive, you know it's going to break in a couple of weeks. The prediction's telling you that. But what's the best action? Do you go and fix it now? Do you fix it in 3 days' time when you've got an engineer on site, but you will still have to take the asset down to do it? Or do you turn the asset down 10%, increase its life another week before it fails, and move it into a scheduled shutdown period where you can now fix it with no downtime? And that's where we start optimizing and having prescriptive maintenance, but with cognitive, we also bring the machine learning at it. We don't have to tell it these rules. The machine will figure it out for itself. So, like I say, I mean, reactive and preventative, you need that good enterprise asset management system. And from there, the Internet of Things opens up the door to this higher value world. And I'm certainly talking to many customers who see this and say, well, we want predictive maintenance. But then you sort of peel back the onion a bit and find, well, actually, they don't really know what assets they have or how they're maintained. So their starting point isn't that great. So you really have to build up a good system and get those fundamentals in place before you can move on to sort of the real excellence. And yeah, it's great for us because people are seeing this, they want to be there, and they understand that they have to start pulling everything together to get there. So it is a journey. But what I wanted to do is show why this journey is now possible. So people have been maintaining assets for a very long time. Why are we now suddenly talking about predictive maintenance and all these things? So with the Internet of Things, and the reason it's taken off in the last couple of years, is all about how easy it is to do this now and how cheap it is to do this now. Previously, this was actually quite prohibitively expensive. Censoring up all your assets, getting the communications out there and analysing that data was quite tricky. So I want to show quickly how we can take our asset management system and an off-the-shelf sensor and create that condition-based maintenance in about a couple of minutes. And this is possible because, speaking of asset managers, this is possible because I have a cheap sensor, so it's about £20, a Texas Instruments sensor tag. Buy it from RS Components or Farnell or wherever. And in here we've got about 20 different sensors, and it's really quite a powerful sensor. It communicates, in this case, through the mobile phone, but other options are available. We mentioned the importance of security earlier. This is why I have a 25-character password on my phone. And that's why I smashed it with a hammer once. Yeah. We're all desperate for the Apple with just a thumbprint. Okay. So the Texas Instruments Sensor tag comes with an app you just download from the App Store. I press the button on the side and press scan and connect. And it starts connecting. Try that again. Please hold.
This is bad data, by the way.
Yeah, this is intermittent data. So we'll try that again.
Children and animals.
And live demos, yeah. And I can confidently say this has never happened to me before. No, sense tags, aha, connect. Okay, right. So I've got my phone back into shape. It's amazed it works at all when it's in this state, but okay, so now with the app, I can see various sensors coming through. But out of the box, I have a little button up here that says push to cloud. So if I turn that on, now we start seeing the benefit of having a sensor platform. Because now I have my various sensors. If I turn that the right way up, we'll see the light increase. So we have a light sensor there, for example. A temperature sensor, so 21.4 in here. I'll probably start raising as it gets put next to my laptop. So Bluetooth issues aside, this sensor was connected and sending data to the cloud within about 20 seconds. So that's well and good. How do we do something useful with that? So because this is now sending data to the cloud, I can start wiring things together. If I come back there and grab its unique ID, I certainly don't want to go typing too much in a live demo. And so quick start, put that in there, and join the dots. Let's deploy. We'll now start seeing data coming through. So now I have data that I can use. We can see the light level is 170 or so. Well, let's do something with that. Being a refrigeration event, I should do something with temperature really, but I didn't rate my chances of the compressed air on the plane, so we'll stick with light because it's a bit easier. So let's come down there and create a simple rule. And let's say if message.payload.light is less than, what is it? So I'm going to say less than 120 maybe. Let's create a message. That and another debug. So if I deploy that now and then cover the tag, we can see that we get a message saying too dark. Okay, that's great. So we've got a rule that's firing with our cheap sensor. Now let's do something more interesting. So let's raise a work order. And again, we just want to see the output. In fact, I'll turn the raw data off because that's get a bit confusing. So I deploy that. Now if I cover it, try that again. Right, too dark, twice. And in a second. Okay, so I managed to raise 2 work orders in that. So it's another key example of how you want to clean the data before it comes in. So I didn't want 2 work orders there. But I do have the tools to be able to do that. So if I put a delay in there, I could put, say, a limit rate, for example, to 1 per minute. So we could do that. But if we come across and look in our asset management system, we can now see our work orders have been raised. So obviously this is a fairly straightforward example of condition-based monitoring, and we've seen far more sophisticated examples earlier today. But the key takeaway is that, I mean, this is all from scratch, basically. This is an out-of-the-box sensor using an out-of-the-box app, and I've just built a flow to create a work order. And I've done it in 2 or 3 minutes. Not long ago, maybe even a year and a half ago, that would have probably taken a day. So much more easy now to be able to do this stuff and get across to the right-hand side of that chart, get from condition maintenance, start having your data streams where you can start doing predictive maintenance, and then beyond. So this is why the Internet of Things is exploding in the last couple of years. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, guys.